let's talk about a team that might have to look for its next steps, and that's the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, the Cleveland
Another
Cavaliers
ring
are
team.
in a shocking 3-1 deficit to the New York Knicks. And I say shocking because I think all of us here believe that the Cavaliers would be the better team and would be in, let me not say the opposite position, but not in a position where it is looking like their impending doom is evident. So again, Riv, we're going to start with you.
My third favorite
What
team.
what are the next steps for the Cleveland Cavaliers? What do they have to do to get better and reach that next step in the NBA playoffs?
This is my third team. They jumped up to my third team, and this is
Got
the
it.
team me and John text about a lot. We go back and forth on it because we're in shambles. We were texting the other day, and I texted him like, "We're fucked, bro." Like after we lost game 4, I was like, "Bro, we're fucked." He texted me back like, "I know, bro." Like it was so bad. They just need it. Like people are. I've been in spaces where they're like, "Fire JB." I've been in others. I caught one. You know what, John? You're a fucking sucker. And I'm going to tell you why you're a sucker. Because I caught you on the last EP talking about Donovan can be the number one and shit like that. And shit like that. I think people are over-exaggerating to this loss. I think this is the first year. Yes, they got their ass whipped. Nobody's disputing that. And I think this series.
It was ugly, too.
This series is what they needed because it showed the weaknesses of this team. They were a top 10 offense and defense in the league for the regular season. So we assumed, well, this team is elite. Let's see what they do. Walk into the playoff series, the Knicks out-muscled them, out-manhandled them. Their bench came to play. Even quickly didn't really have a good series, and they still came to play. Yeah, so I think this series just showed weaknesses, and they can improve. I think the roster, their big four, is good. I mean, Jaron Allen might need to get moved, though. Mitch completely just outworked him. Mobley needs to get better, but we knew that. Garland is young. He needs to get better, but we know that. They're young players. I think the role players and bringing in guys who can defend and can hit the three ball, because the spacing for Mitchell was not good. Like, I'm not discrediting Jalen Brunson. He was amazing. I'm not going to sit here and say he didn't outperform Donovan Mitchell, but people have to watch the game and understand that what both guys were seeing from a defensive coverage wasn't the same thing. And Donovan Mitchell was seeing much more difficult defensive coverage, and that's because of the lack of spacing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that's no excuse. I still want you, my superstar, I need you to come show out to town at least twice, but we can acknowledge the fact that the team also did not come to play and they weren't good. So I think the next step for Cleveland is it starts with Garland and Mobley. Like, I know people love to say Mobley is the guy that it starts with Garland and Mobley. It's both of those guys. They need to make that ascension into the next spot. Because you saw when Garland was hot and Mitchell was being more of a playmaker, you saw how electric this team was. When Garland was a scorer, he was doing his thing and they were playing off each other. You saw how electric it was. Mobley obviously needs to get better. They need to find more bench players and more depth. That's the problem. They need a backup big. They need wings that can defend, space the floor. And this draft class is weak with superstar talent, but there's a lot of good role players in this draft class. And I think this is one where they can definitely invest in and be like, all right, we know what we need to do. Because when you saw the series in the Knicks, and I said it, but I kind of contradicted myself because the bias took control of me. But I did say in a lot of these series, role players are one of the most important things for teams nowadays. And the Knicks role players completely and utterly beat the Cavs role players by a wide, substantial mark. So I think the Cavs aren't in a bad spot as much as people like to make it seem. I just think this loss was so bad that people are like throwing the temper tantrum and panics. I mean, I cried too. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Like when Garland was shooting 4 for 21, I was in pain. But they're fine. I think this is their first year together. They'll be fine.
And what's really been is disappointment, because we expect so much from this Cavaliers team that when you lose the 2 games on the road, they should have won each of the 2 games versus the Knicks. Like, the Knicks won and they're up 3-1, but the Knicks haven't played well in this series either. They've just played slightly better, more physical than the Cavaliers.
Not offensively, at least.
Yeah, offensively, they've both been terrible, and the Cavs have actually shot a little bit better. And the issue is just patience. Evan Mobley is 21 years old, and it's going to take him 3 years. In 3 years, let's come back and see how far he's progressed offensively. Does he have a floater? Is he more confident? Does he fill out his frame? I'm sure he will. Darius Garland, it's his first time in that playoff setting, but we've seen the high-end outcome for him. That's why so many like me toot his horn. The last thing, though, for the Cavaliers is, like, I heard Zach Lowe talking about it. Imagine you just put fucking Torrey Craig on this Cavaliers team right now, and he was spacing the floor and knocking down shots. How much that would change this offense? I love Jared Allen, but in this series, as Riv said, he has not played well. If you swap him out for a quality wing, and off the top of my head, haven't been able to find a team that's also needy of Jared Allen. But then you get floor spacing at the 3, and you get a two-way player. Maybe you remove some of the burn off Isaac Okoro so he can come off the bench. I also think Okoro should play more, though. Same with Dean Wade. Then you have so much more spacing to where, hey, look, the Knicks can't just throw 3 guys on a pick and roll, double teaming Donovan Mitchell every single time down. And if you have more spacing, more shot making, and ideally a third creator that's more reliable than Karis LeVert, this Cavaliers team is a bona fide contender. It really just comes down to spacing and depth. Because they lack those two things sorely, and Kobe Altman did not address them at all this year outside signing Danny Green, I think they've got some work to do this offseason. But if he can press the right button, just 2 buttons, next year at this time, you're going to look at them and say,
John.
Third creator. Yeah, go ahead, Riv. I'm sorry.
No, we need like 5 buttons. I'll be honest with you. This shit was
it's
crashing.
really just
The bench needs help.
we
need a starting wing. We need a starting wing and 3 bench players. A bench big.
The bench is ugly.
And then another
It's like
guard.
it's like you guys could use a guy like Kevin Love. Probably would have been a very a solid role player for you guys, right?
He did fall out the rotation at a certain point.
Yeah, I don't know why, because now he has a role on Miami that I'm sure that you guys would have just benefited from.
I
You
feel
need
like
an extra body, and that's
Hartenstein
Kevin.
would have outplayed him.
Yeah, I mean, Hartenstein has been outplaying arguably Jared Allen. That's how great Hartenstein has
Look,
been.
Riv,
Honestly.
you like Isaac Okoro. I like Dean Wade. Dean Wade was hurt this year. Okoro's not getting enough minutes. Those 2 guys can be good bench.
Talking about Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro.
If that's your 8th and 9th guys off the bench, you'll be just fine. Just
maybe 9th and 10th.
I'm gonna let Dehls and Drew cook, but I have a question, John. Why the fuck are you a Dean Wade guy? Like I'm a
good player. He got hurt this year, bro.
Like, I'm gonna
can shoot it. Dean Wade defensively. He's a solid player.
He sucks.
Okay, dude. You're going to go on this whole tangent about how he has a bad feel for the game. If he can shoot, he holds up defensively, and he can attack close out the target. He does not suck.
I'm sick of John with these guys. Like,
John Conchar, Dean Wade.
Yeah, but John,
if you don't think John Conchar is good, you are a casual.
No, he's John Conchar.
Dean Wade was hurt. He looked like shoulder surgery. Before that surgery, he was the 5th best player on the Cavaliers, making shots, attacking closeouts, more consistent than Karis LeVert, who one game would drop 41 versus Celtics, and the next game is 0 points. Oh my God,
welcome
what are you
Karis
doing?
LeVert show. So, like what first time?
Yeah, LeVert's inconsistent.
I think Dean Wade is a quality rotation player. Just he's hurt this year, and I don't think he just made enough shots early on in the going.
Yeah, I'm sure, buddy. Cook up, fellas, because this guy, I'm sick of this guy.
Go ahead, Jolie Lowe.
The Cavs need a few things, a lot. Listen, you guys hit on a lot of things they're missing. This Knicks series, I think, opens a lot of eyes, though. I mean, Riv was over here before the season saying ECF sleeper, and now they're probably going to get bounced in round 1. There's a few things wrong with this Cavs team. I mean, number one, a lot of the problems this year, or this series, I should say, is like feels like they're getting outworked. Feels like they're getting the Knicks are being more physical. Neither of these teams are shooting the ball well offensively. It could get really ugly at times. Was it game 3 where it was 42-30 at halftime? Like, it was some really ugly basketball being played. And when you have Garland and Donovan Mitchell, you would expect the offense to come a little bit easier, especially compared to this Knicks team that Julius Randle has played basically like dog shit outside of like one half. Outside of that, Julius Randle has not been good. So they've really just had Jalen Brunson in terms of an offensive creator, an offensive engine. And that's really all they've had. And they've looked better than having Donovan Mitchell and Garland, who Garland's had his struggles. Donovan Mitchell's had his struggles. And you talk about the spacing on this team, you have your talented or your best 5 is with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley out there. But right now, neither of those guys can space the floor. Jared Allen is never going to be able to space the floor. That's just not his game. I think Evan Mobley has the ability to, at some point in his career, extend his jump shot. And if he's able to, at some point, get a 3-point jump shot, we might be talking 2 or 3 years down the road. Now we're talking about a completely different Cleveland Cavaliers team, because I don't know if in today's NBA, you're going to be able to consistently play maybe 35 to 40 minutes and have 3 guys who can't shoot the basketball. It's bad enough that you're going to have to put Isaac Okoro out there, but you're going to pair him with 2 other guys who can't shoot. I mean, the Cavs could have a good regular season because their defense is going to be sensational, but once it comes playoff time, they're going to be able to get exposed. So this offseason, they needed desperately another guy, not only another guy to get a basket, but they need a 2-way player, because right now they have guys who could either defend and can't shoot like Isaac Okoro, or you have guys who could shoot and play make but not defend like a Karis LeVert. So I think two-way players are obviously very hard to find in this league. Everyone's trying to find a two-way player who could be able to switch on defense, be able to knock down shots offensively. So it's very easy to say. But I think if the Cavs are able to find, you probably need at least two of those guys. So Okoro could get pushed to maybe the seventh guy on that bench, and Osman the eighth guy, and you have Dean Wade, like, John's favorite player. But I think it really comes down to the absolute peak of this team is going to be Evan Mobley at some point being able to extend his jump shot. Because if you could have Mobley being able to be somewhat of a respectable three-point shooter, now you have Jared Allen sitting in the paint, fill out that three spot, and you have Garland and Mitchell obviously in the backcourt. Now you're looking at a team that can make an ECF push and eventually finals down the road.
I'm with you, Joel. I feel similarly. The big get for the Cavaliers needs to be spacers. Now, Riv, I want to focus on something you said because you said that Jared Allen might have to go. I'm looking at this series, and it's evident that Jared Allen is probably the most crucial piece to this Cavaliers team. Now that, I say that because I think Garland and obviously Mitchell need to be the offensive firepower they need. But in terms of a presence down low, if Jared Allen's not on the court, they simply don't have a presence down low. And that's with respect to Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley needs to hit the weight room. I mean, he is an amazing defender. Obviously, we understand that he was a defensive player of the year. But right now, Mitchell Robinson's having his way with him. Mitchell Robinson is simply big broing him. And Jared Allen's the only one that could hang with Mitchell Robinson on this Cavs team. And yes, even still, Mitchell Robinson's getting the better of Jared Allen. But really, Jared Allen needs to assert himself, needs to assert his dominance in the paint down low. Because right now, the Cavs simply lack that. And if you let go of Jared Allen, who are you going to replace? You're right now relying on Evan Mobley. Who knows how his genetics are and how he gets older? Obviously, we understand Evan Mobley's still a young player, still has time to grow into his body, but that's on him. He has to get into the gym. He has to start putting on some muscle, and that's something that you can't just say, I trust and rely on, because that's something that we have to see. We already see it in Jared Allen that he has that body, that presence to be that dominant force down low. Right now, Mitchell Robinson's just getting the better of him. Jared Allen's letting the moment get too big for him. I just think that right now, the key is to surround this team with talent, not remove it. And unless you're going to get solid pieces back for Jared Allen, solid draft capital, role players that can help right now, then I don't think moving Jared Allen is the right idea. I think the primary moves that need to be made are simply getting shooters on this team, not getting rid of them. Because I jokingly said, hey, you could use a guy like Kevin Love on this team. And in my joke was a little realism there, because Kevin Love, although he wasn't great for the Cavaliers at all, played so poorly that he ended up losing his spot in the rotation. You could have used a guy like him off the bench where he gives you some size. He gives you the ability to stretch the floor. It doesn't leave you with the necessity of having to play Mobley and Jared Allen at the same time. So that's the only thing that I look at and just think that the Cavaliers might have made a mistake there. But other than that, I was never under the assumption that the Cavaliers' year to win was right now. This was a job that was met. This was a move made, the move being Donovan Mitchell to the Cavaliers. This was a move that was supposed to benefit this team for the future, not immediately. And you could look at that in a year or two with Donovan Mitchell and crew. But now Garland has a taste of the playoffs. Mobley has a taste of the playoffs. Jared Allen now has an enhanced role in the playoffs, where it hasn't been his best performance, but now he gets to see what the bright lights are like in a situation where there's some pressure, some high leverage situations. I think you have to trust the process, but understand that there just needs to be a little retooling and the additions that need to be made for this Cavaliers.
I think part of that, Drew, is that while Jared Allen may have gotten the Cavaliers to point B, we all knew the moment they drafted Evan Mobley, he was going to be best playing center. And that front court tandem would not work the whole time. The Celtics
did something good.
They probably did
Jim
something
Brown
good.
said 3. Yeah.
I want to see.
Is Tatum still selling or what? Because I saw.
He's mid. He's mid.
He sucks, bro. I'm done with him, man.
I want to see.
Blake Griffin's in the game. Don't know why.
He's been solid. Jared Allen go to a team like San Antonio, and then the Cavs get Keldon Johnson, who's got so much athleticism, as being kind of put in the wrong role right now in San Antonio, but can shoot it at a high level off the catch. Keldon Johnson on this Cavaliers team would be a huge difference maker. And defensively, I think he has the tools to be an above average player in that end of the floor.
I think I personally would rather Devin Vassell, but I like the thought process that you're going with, John.
They're not going to Vassell, I don't think.
Yeah, I know. But I like the thought process.
Yeah,
and Keldon and Allen contracts fit. But my only thing with that, Drew, is you expect Mobley in 2 to 3 years to be able to play the 5. And
Agreed.
if Mobley can play the 5, you don't really need Allen, because it kind of defeats you kind of want more
That's a fact.
spacing or
You
stretch
need
for.
Mobley to get strong though if he wants to play the
Yeah, that's
5.
what I'm
to Drew's
saying.
point.
But you want it to be like, then Boston did it perfectly. Like, nobody can do what Golden State did. Have 2 non-spacing shooting bigs because they have the greatest shooters ever. So it's easy for them. With Boston, you see Horford can space the floor. Rob is down low. You have a mix of the medium. So it's like he's not clogging the paint. You kind of want that for Mobley in a sense where you want Mobley at the 5, or maybe even Mobley stretch out a little bit, but I don't know how long that's going to take. But you want Mobley at the 5. You want somebody at the 4 that can stretch out, have a 4-out offense that gives a lot of space, So I think Allen, that's great. Like, he's great. Nobody's denying. But even in his, he wasn't a good rim protector in this series. He hasn't been protecting the rim. Guys have been bullying him to the paint. He just looks terrible. Like, he doesn't look like, and they all
young.
do.
He really just looks young and inexperienced and light. What outside of Jared Allen, what assets are the Cavs going to be able to move to get that wing?
I think it comes from free agency. I think you got to offer some vet mins. You know what I'm saying? I think you got to offer some 5-year deals.
MLE to have.
Yeah, I think personally, 2 wings, not even 2. A wing, a guard, and a big. You can have, as long as you get a starting wing, Okoro can go to the bench, and it's fine. He can be a bench wing. That's fine. You need a guard to kind of replace one of the guards, like a better Rubio. You need a big. You need a backup big.